It's day 5 in Happy Clutter Clear, and I'm here to answer the questions that have come in. And the 2 questions are versions of how to get started. It feels too big, feels overwhelming, or it feels hard to do anything. And these are really 2 versions of the same condition. It's about having too much pressure as you're trying to get started on clutter clearing. And the main thing I can say is to reduce the pressure and get started somehow. And the reason that's the answer is that the clutter itself is the source of most of the pressure. If you sit around clutter for more than a few minutes, you're going to start to feel the energy of the clutter, and that brings you down. It lowers your energy, and it makes anything you want to do feel harder than it is. So you'll ultimately reduce the pressure by taking away some of the clutter, and you don't have to take away most of it to make it easier. Every little bit will help. But you have to start somewhere. So how do you take down the pressure? The main thing that helps me is to narrow my focus, to take on a kind of tunnel vision. Find an area you can look at and focus on where you won't be distracted by all the other rooms and all the other places where the clutter is. Look at one small area, take some clutter out of there. So if you can sit at a drawer and take the clutter out of the drawer, maybe that's a way to focus. Or if you can look at one shelf or look under one piece of furniture and find out what's there. And if you can take away just one thing on day 1, that's a start, right? And if you take away 5 to 10 things, that's probably time to stop for the day, because you don't want to get in the pattern of wearing yourself out with clutter clearing. You want to come back at it day after day, and that's harder to do if you remember how tiring it was. So you want to keep it small, but keep at it day after day. And I have to mention the day 6 listening. The topic is about how clutter clearing is a process, and that will help put all this in more of a context. But don't be afraid to be arbitrary. Pick one spot, take away some clutter, call it a day, but then do the same thing the next day. Pick a spot, do a little bit more. Then there was one more thing. Someone sent in an example of how it's not so important to keep things, or material things are not as important as we make them out to be. And the thing in this example is a jukebox. And of course, no one really needs a jukebox to play music. There are much, much easier ways to play music, and people are kind of afraid to use this jukebox because they're afraid it'll break eventually. So it just sits there, but everyone got used to seeing it there. But it turned out that the jukebox is worth some real money, so they're starting to work out how to sell that, and they'll clear up. I don't know if you know how big a jukebox is, but it takes up quite a bit of floor space, and they'll clear up that much floor space just by selling this jukebox and the records that are in it. It's going to be a fairly easy way to clear a large piece of clutter. And it goes to show how things become invisible when we see them every day. We just think they belong there, and it's only when we stop to question them that we realize maybe they don't. So that's what I have for you today. Look for more Clutter Clear Q&A on day 10.